Okay, this is a very tall question, but we have a feeling that perhaps it's not being used as widely as we would like it to be. We feel this way because both of us are involved in an EU-funded eContent Plus project called Open Discovery Space, where the objective is to encourage the use of e-learning in primary and secondary schools throughout Europe. So our project officer has even said that the indication for him will be when his child comes home from school and says, "Daddy, Daddy, look what we've done," and he'll talk about some way technology has been used in a creative way in the classroom. So we think that there's a great need for take-up throughout Europe. To speak specifically for France, perhaps I'd say one of the problems is that, I shouldn't say problems, maybe one of the hindering factors is the fact that teachers in France, like university professors, are hired on what they know about a certain content area rather than their pedagogical skills. So maybe that's one of the reasons why they don't think so much about using technology, because if you use technology, you have to think about the pedagogy behind it. And I think maybe another problem, especially if I compare to what's happening in Europe as compared to the United States, the communities, because they don't speak a common language, it's much more difficult for teachers to be inspired by other teachers. So I think maybe these are some of the reasons why we're lagging behind. I'd say another reason is these tests like the Abitur and the Baccalaureate, which require students to sit exams for 3 hours where they're basically writing with pens and papers. These are all things that sort of do not foster the uptake of technology in learning.
Yeah, so first of all, I would agree with Catherine Maillet, who basically stated that the biggest problem is not a country-wise problem, but it is one that has been carried out throughout Europe. The reason, though, for this problem of uptake of technology is definitely more related to than the regional problems. As Catherine outlined or indicated, it would be something like the curricula that are missing in schools that do not include technologies to learn. So teachers are still, at least in Germany, being forced to go outside this curriculum in order to use learning technologies. Then you have a lot of discussions and problems with the publishing houses who want to who have not yet found new revenue models that would enable them to draw on the public education and still get money from it, right? So they are now forcing schools to pay for for the use of online educational resources that they produce, in addition to the textbooks they sell. All of this is hindering uptake significantly.
I think in Germany we have the special case that the companies are very far compared to other countries in terms of usage of learning technologies. It's highly integrated into the business processes of the organizations. Training is a core part of HRD and so of HR development. And the companies really take care that that the information and the data gathered during training processes is used in other environments, that the learning is an integral part of other business activities at workplace, and there we are very strong. And I think all large enterprises in Germany now have technologies in place. They look now very much into mobile learning in the sense of serving the content on multi-devices, multi-channels. And tracking, compliance is a hot topic here. So I think that's specific for Germany that we have now high integration.
Well, first of all, I would like to mention that I cannot really speak for Austria in general. So my main experiences are with Graz University of Technology. There, as I mentioned before, e-learning is used more in very individualistic ways. There's an IT infrastructure available for different sorts of e-learning applications. There's a way to upload slides and to provide lectures, to do some online testing facilities and so forth, as well as Twitter, wikis, blogs, and so forth. However, this is not unified infrastructure over the whole university. And I think in my feeling, this is the same, at least in the other Styrian universities. And there's now the Steirische Hochschulkonferenz has brought together people who are interested in this topic and also identified it as one of their goals to work closer together and to come to a more unified strategy on how e-learning will be used. And I think this is a similar situation all over Austria, but I'm not sure.
I think you have to make distinctions between different kinds of learning. The first kind of learning is the kind of learning that people do in their own homes. And I think the UK is doing what all developed nations are doing. We're not doing it, the kids are doing it themselves. There are 2.7 million uploads on the Scratch website. Scratch is a computer language for kids. And somehow or other, about 250,000 people have uploaded more than 2.5 million computer programs in their own time without any special encouragement from schools or teachers or parents. And I think this is a very positive step forward, because we know that kids are supposed to be digital natives. They all grow up with Twitter and Facebook and so on. But it's not clear what that has to do with learning. It really isn't clear. I'm not saying it's not the case, but we don't really know how all these different things are changing the way people learn. So I think that's one thing that's happening, and it's not happening because anybody's doing it. It's happening because the kids themselves have appropriated the technology.
China in general, well, that's always a very difficult question. China is so large, and as a Westerner, you cannot really understand the huge differences between, for instance, Shanghai and where, I mean, universities, they have an excellent equipment, and classrooms in Sichuan or some Western province where these kids, they have to bring their own tables to the school. But in general, I think you can say that learning in general has a very high, it's very, very important, because it's the step into a better future. If you have a good education, then you can become something. So education in general has a very high value. And since there are not enough universities or very high quality schools, e-learning is very important as a way to allow access to education to the largest number of citizens possible. So learning, and especially e-learning, is seen as a way, well, to open up your future and to become successful in life.
Yeah, I think special about the situation in Estonia is that already in 2002 a large consortium was established called e-University Estonia that comprised of all the major universities and other educational institutions. And yeah, in this consortium there's really people are really trying to find new ways of how to apply learning technologies in universities, for example. There's a very intensive collaboration across these institutions, which I think, when I compare it to the situation, for example, in Austria and Germany, is quite special, I'd say, in the Estonian setting.
In general, I can say that most institutions use learning management systems like Moodle, Sakai, Blackboard, .learn, and many other platforms. Also in Spain, it's very hot, the OpenCourseware, especially Universia, which is the foundation of the Banco Santander, has promoted among Spanish universities the development of OpenCourseware courses. So we have quite a number in Spain of courses available in OpenCourseware. I think this is the two most important things as it stands now.
I think that sometimes we as researchers are a little bit frustrated because we look at the potential of technology for learning and we wonder why aren't people taking it up more quickly. But if I look back at my involvement in different research projects in the area, I think that there has been a lot of take-up. As a language teacher, for example, I've used all kinds of media: the Language Lab, video cassettes, audio cassettes. I've used television. Now, of course, we use internet. In the 1990s, I was involved in a lot of computer-supported collaborative learning, where we were trying to do multi-point video conferencing with so-called high-speed networks. I remember I had to call up every node across Europe to make sure that the guy was there to actually make the connection. Now, today, teachers use Skype in the classroom. I'm also thinking in these CSCW courses, we would ask students to make a little biographical profile, who they were, what they do, because we wanted the students to get to know each other. Now we can do these things with Facebook. So I would say if the technology is there, if it's available, if it's cheap, the teachers are going to use it, the students are going to use it. So I think that the future is bright.
The future of learning, of technology-enhanced learning, I would see that indeed what they now call the 21st century skills are actually elaborated. In more practical terms, this means that learning indeed becomes individual, but respects still all the requirements of the stakeholders. So if you have a school, then you have to take care of the privacy of the data. Still, at the same time, you facilitate for the teachers the ability to see what their students do using technologies like learning analytics and so on and so forth. You respect the need for the administration to understand what the students do so that they have an overview of what the teachers do and so on and so forth. At the same time, you also foster the understanding that all these means are not able to provide a grading mechanism. So the grades still need to be provided by the teachers, and the teacher is the final one deciding, and there needs to be an understanding that this cannot be misused. It is based off a trust negation path that we need to take there. In terms of organizational learning or learning of workplace learning, it basically means we need to go beyond the current state where simple methods force employees to learn, but instead create the proof that there's a return on investment on making learning happen.
The future is in the use of mobile devices and the social learning around new content formats, social reading of e-books, of interactive learning books. That will be a hot topic here in Germany. Not only for companies, also for education institutions, schools. And the future is also in the way that we get a much higher acceptance. I would say it's not so much in adding again other features and other technology. It's more now that we develop the right instructional design methods and put this into the real life. We still have a minority using on daily basis learning technologies in what organizations ever. And in the future, this will be on a much higher mainstream basis. So learning technologies become mainstream in Germany.
In Austria specifically, well, in Graz we have a very strong research groups in technology and enhanced learning. So this is on the one hand the KNOW Center, which I'm leading, but there's also other institutes at the Graz University of Technology which are dealing with very individual aspects of e-learning. And we all present here at ECTEL, and so I think this is all I can say there, really. I think one of the things we might have to look into is how MOOCs will really change the whole idea of online and e-learning for the universities. I think universities will really have to think about which role can such online courses take, and which role do then the typical lectures, with face-to-face lectures within the universities really take?
Yes, I don't think that there's any special role that the UK is going to play. It's an average country in terms of the take-up of technology. I think where we're going to end up is that we will take technology for granted in the same way that we used to take books and pencils and pens for granted. We're a long way from that at the moment. The closest you get to it is in the social media that people engage in all the time, kids and adults. But if you think of the way, for example, that text messaging has changed the way that we interact with each other in ways that we're still not quite sure. I can say to you, I'll meet you in the center of town at 7:30, and it'll be fine, because we know that we can text each other when we arrive. We don't have to make an arrangement. We used to say, I'll meet you by the third shop on the left and the corner by the, and we don't have to do that anymore. And nobody could have really predicted that we take for granted that technology. We don't even talk about it. If I arranged to meet you at 7:30, I probably wouldn't even bother to say, I'll phone you when I get there. You just know I would. So we're learning how to do that with technology for learning, and I think we're some way from being in that situation.
The future, well, you can say from a kind of finance point of view, in the last 20 years, China invested massive amounts of money into universities and online universities. And this focus will shift now to more learning in the workspace, at the workplace, so supporting people to learn the skills that they need during their daily life, like the conference theme, actually. So it was really fitting. So you will see this shift to workplace-based learning, and definitely what you will see is a shift to mobile learning. China has now the most mobile smartphones all over the world, so many more smartphones are bought in China than in the States. And this, of course, will shape the way how the content, the education is presented to you. So I think we will see a shift to workplace-based learning that's really important for the skills that you need, delivered by your mobile device.
I think there's obviously many different directions and many different developments that will be very important for the future. I think one of the important things that we have been following up very closely is the idea of open educational resources. So learning environments are getting more and more open. People are using their personal tools, and on the side of the educational resources, this has not maybe happened to the same extent. So many of the resources are still owned by institutions, publishers, and so on. So the move towards opening also up the resources, I think, is an important aspect. I think another trend will be that tools get more personal and they get smarter, so they know a lot of the things that I need, that I want, that I like, and this development, I think, will have a major impact also in the learning technologies as well, where the tools just get smarter and know better what to recommend me and where my learning should go, basically.
Precisely with a small number of universities, we are thinking about the next step. And the next step goes in the direction of the MOOCs, also massive open online courses. And we are thinking what technologies to use, there's several available, and how to use these new technologies in order both to give courses online, but also in particular to improve the campus teaching and how to use, for instance, analytics, all this information that is captured by the platforms in order to improve the learning process itself.